Welcome back. So today we're going to finish off this World Eater. This is a model based on the Rampagers from 30K, but if I was going to put it in 40K, I would absolutely run it as an Exalted 8-bound or an 8-bound. So our first step, just like our how to paint white is, we've got the entire model base coated with that Gorgon hide now, and we're going to use our Apothecary contrast paint that we have shaken the hell out of in order to get all of our initial shadows. We're going to push, we're going to pull, we're going to get it into all the little cracks and crevices until it's everywhere and the entire model is covered. We will try to prevent some of the pooling, but some of it will happen and that's fine. So next up, I'm going to show you a different way to do this. We're going to use black liner that we usually use for Gundams, and we're going to go in and we're just going to tap it in all of the spaces. This is a very viscous, light paint, so it's going to flow real easily and on its own into all the various little cracks and crevices. Once it's all the way dry and we're done everything else, I'll show you how to clean up any overspill, so don't worry too much. Now that it's dry, we're going to take a little bit of mineral spirit and a ripped up makeup sponge, and we're going to push most of the mineral spirit out so the sponge is only a little damp, and we're going to gently rub it across the areas where you want to take the liner off. What you'll notice is this leaves a nice dark black line neatly in all the grooves and crevices, but allows you to clean up the surfaces without too much hassle. It's important that you apply light pressure and that you only have a little bit of mineral spirits, because if you have too much, it'll reactivate the liner and then the liner will be so wet that it'll get everywhere and it'll make a mess. Get your silver of choice and get all of the silver parts of the model painted. Now we're going to do all of the trim in copper, as well as any accent pieces that we're going to want to highlight. Since we use such light colors the whole way through, we're going to go ahead and use a contrast paint to apply the red. We'll be using Blood Angel Red here. We're going to do his loincloth, and we're also going to do the wraps around his axes. So with everything dry, we're going to take some Army Painter Pure Red and we're going to apply some highlights just where it's already kind of naturally higher on the contrast paint. It'll go on wet, a little bright, but it'll darken down some as it dries, and it'll give us a very clean, natural highlight, and it doesn't take a whole lot of effort or work, so it's a good thing to do. Now we'll take that mixture and we're going to add just a little bit of Gorgon hide, probably about 50-50, and we're going to do just the same thing but a little bit less. We're going to focus on edges and the center of our already highlighted parts, and this is just to create a couple of visual interest spots. With all the other colors down and a nice, easy to work with model, we're going to now take our Gorgon hide and we're going to brighten those whites back up, and we're going to clean up any overspill that we might have had from any of the previous steps. This is going to be our chance to really help that white pop and fix anything that we couldn't quite fix at any other step. We've been waiting for this because we want to make sure that all the other colors that could possibly get on that white armor are already dealt with so that we can just focus on the white armor. We're going to aim for highlights, we're going to aim for the parts that are facing upwards, but we are never going to use pure white unless we're doing just an edge highlight. What you'll find is now that the white primer is gone and the only whites we have been darkened down, this Gorgon hide, despite not being a pure white, already reads incredibly bright and white. And that allows us to create highlights on this otherwise white armor. That's the secret. The secret to white is to never actually paint white unless you're doing a very final highlight, and most of the time, that's not really needed either. With all that done, we're going to take some Pro Acryl Black Wash, which works a little bit like Null Oil from back in the day, and we're going to go ahead and wash most of our copper, we're going to wash all of our silver, and we're going to wash our red. And this is going to create some shadows. This is also going to bring down any parts that might have been a little too bright. It'll also cover up any overspill you might have had where you get a little bit of one color onto the next. This is also a good chance if you find that there's any of the copper trim that doesn't quite have a shadow, this would be the time to go ahead and use this wash to create a little bit of shadow so that there's a nice clear distinction between the armor, the trim, the various pieces of it. That contrast is going to make your white armor pop all the more. Now we're going to take Wildwood and we're going to put it right over top of our Marine's face. This will give us a darker skin tone, and since he's already white from all the colors around him, the contrast paint should work great and give us all of the shading and the highlights that we need. We'll take some Gorgon hide and we're going to carefully pick out his eyes. We're just going to run it across them. There's no real secret to this. Brace yourself, brace your arm, take a deep breath, and take light, small strokes until you get it. Then we're going to take matte black and we're going to put one little line on each eye so that we can create a pupil. At this scale, you really don't need it to be perfect. You just want to kind of aim so that they're both about the same distance from the sides of the eyes, and you'll call it a day. When viewing it, your eyes will read it the way that it needs to so that you will see it fixed even if it's not. We're going to take our blue and we're going to just touch up any of the blue that you want to be a little brighter so that our next stages will all have that distinguished bright pop of blue. All right, now for one of the more interesting things to do, we're going to apply blood. Now we're going to take blood for the blood god. We're going to put a little bit on an old toothbrush and we're going to flick it. Just run your finger across it, aiming at your model, and you're going to let the blood spurts land where they will. This is one of those effects that's real easy to overdo, so only do it once or twice. Just make sure that you've got the amounts that you want and then stop. Less is more. We're going to take pure blood for the blood god and we're going to apply it to the places that would most be covered in gore. We'll apply a thicker coat around the edges and then we'll pull it back in random streaks, and that should help give us that torn look. We'll apply a little bit heavier around some of the focus dots or anywhere that you might want to have a little bit of interest. If you get some somewhere you want to take it off, clean brush with water will absolutely take it off. Knuckles are usually bloody, feet tend to be bloody, so these are good places to add a little bit more effect. After it dries, if you decide you want a little bit more, you can always put a little bit more on. So start slow and low and let it build up. So now we've reached the end and you've completed your model. And we didn't do a basing tutorial for this because that's really not what this is. And I wanted to try and get you guys something that you could use and make all the steps approachable to anyone of any skill level. I want to say thank you. Please subscribe if you can or you don't mind. Hit the little bell icon. I'd like to take a moment to say thank you to everybody who's helping the channel grow and paying attention to anything that it is we are doing. I am hopeful in the next week or two to be able to bring you guys some monthly gift draws. It'll probably just be small things because we don't actually make any money off this channel as of yet, so I can only afford to give you stuff I have. But if you join our Discord, I'll be putting all the information for those up there. Thank you and have a great day.